Hello, welcome back to Life on the Fringe. Today we are going to be talking about preparing for the darkness. That's right, we're going to be talking about daylight savings time, but also how it relates to seasonal affective disorder, or otherwise known as seasonal depression. So we're going to be talking about what is SAD, seasonal affective disorder, what the symptoms are, so you can look out for it, and also ways that you can kind of work to treat it / prevent it, and prepare ourselves for the winter ahead. So I'm not a therapist. I go to therapy. I've been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and borderline personality tendencies, disorder tendencies, and the information I'm going to be using for this video are going to be linked down below. If I'm pulling from something my therapist says, I'll say so, and if I'm pulling from something from personal experience, I will say that as well, so that way you can know where the references are coming from. But first, I wanted to talk about what is it. So according to the Mayo Clinic, seasonal affective disorder is a disorder where you have similar symptoms to depression, but based on the season that it's in. So it can be in conjunction with, say you have major depressive disorder, you might be more inclined to also have seasonal affective disorder. They can work together, but you could just have seasonal affective disorder. It depends on a case-by-case basis, but typically people with other mental illnesses, like having bipolar disorder, having major depressive disorder, those tend to increase your likelihood of having seasonal affective disorder. And it's based on the seasons, like I said. So typically, this occurs in the fall and winter, where the days are getting shorter. Nighttime is longer, it's darker for longer, and this is hypothesized to affect why we see seasonal affective disorder. However, you can have seasonal affective disorder patients that, instead of it happening in the fall and winter, might have it happen in the spring and summer. So this video is going to be talking about the fall-winter variant, because that's the season, and we're about to make our days even shorter by going back in time. So November 7th, we're turning back the clocks an hour, and every year I dread it, because every year I know this is going to kind of kickstart SAD. So what are the symptoms? So you know if you need to maybe watch out for this. You can monitor yourself if this is something that's affecting you. According to the Mayo Clinic, symptoms may include feeling depressed most of the day, nearly every day, losing interest in activities that you once enjoyed, having low energy, having problems sleeping, typically oversleeping, from what I've read, rather than insomnia. A weird difference between the winter variant and the spring-summer variant is in the winter you see oversleeping being typically the problems with sleeping, but in the spring-summer variant you see insomnia. Experiencing changes in your appetite or weight. In an article by the NIMH, they said that you could crave carbohydrates, specifically. Feeling sluggish or agitated, having difficulty concentrating, feeling hopelessness, worthless, guilty, or having thoughts of death or suicide. So it can be some of those, it could be all of those, it could be a few of those, but those are the symptoms. And I think it's clear to see that there is a lot of overlap with depression, which is why it's typically referred to colloquially as seasonal depression. A lot of those symptoms are the same. So it's no wonder that we see that people with major depressive disorder and people with bipolar disorder, as well as other mental illnesses, are more at risk for having seasonal affective disorder and having increased difficulties with their symptoms. Now that you kind of know what to look for, what should you do if you see that you're experiencing these things? One thing that is true of if you're experiencing these feelings in general is I recommend talking to a therapist. Now, it's really hard to get a therapist. Even if you're insured, you could be waiting a long time before you get an appointment, which is why doing preventative work, scheduling appointments in advance if you know this is going to be something that becomes an issue for you, if you've had this in the past, maybe setting up that first appointment before you need it could be important. But also, therapy and medication may not be accessible to everyone, even if they are 2 of the 4 most recommended treatments for SAD. So, what else can be done? One thing that can be done is type of light treatment. So in light therapy, which is also called phototherapy, you sit a few feet away from a special light box, and the light box is kind of supposed to be above you. You sit there for like 30 minutes, and it kind of is supposed to replicate being outside in the sunshine, and triggering the chemicals that go along with the sunshine. There are specific lights that do this. You can buy them on Amazon, but they can be pricey. You also want to do a lot of research to make sure that you're getting one that works. If you're going to spend a lot of money on this box, it needs to be able to, like, from 3 feet, have a certain amount of light. You want it to also be UVB blocking. Like, there's a lot of things, so do your research before you specifically buy a light. But if this is something that really affects you, it can be a huge game changer. It's something my therapist recommended, is getting this light box. But let's say you don't have like the cash to drop on a light box right now, or you're doing this to be preventative. Like, maybe, you don't know if you have this. What else can you do to kind of replicate this in other ways? This is where I'm going into more like personal advice that's also corroborated by people on forums like on Reddit who deal with this. But this is anecdotal, like things that you could try that may work for you, that have worked for me. Something that I'm going to be doing is putting up Christmas lights all over my apartment. My apartment is dark anyway, like at night, but since I can no longer rely on my big windows to provide natural light into the evening, it gets very dim in here. And so that has a huge impact on my mood. So I'm going to be putting up lights to just make the apartment in general brighter. You can also put up two-tone lights. I have this in my bathroom. I might be moving those special light bulbs into like the living room or the bedroom. Two-tone lights where you can have like the white light in the daytime and then like the more like natural yellow light for the nighttime to keep your light schedule on track. That can also be something that really helps you. Also, you can still go outside, so making time to go out into the sunlight, even if it's cold or gray outside, still can improve your symptoms. You're still getting that sunlight. and experiencing the outdoor activities. One thing that was recommended online that I haven't tried but will is having indoor activities that you really enjoy. Now, of course, like if you lose interest in things and that's one of your symptoms, it can be hard to like keep up your hobbies. But one thing that you can do is like embrace some of the winter stuff. I find that for me, like I'm a big Christmas person. My like sad doesn't really hit till after that because I'm so wrapped up in the festivities of winter that I don't have time to like dwell on it as much. So that could be something that helps, or embracing it by like taking up ice skating. But again, like one of the things, like I said, that the articles are recommending, that I recommend, is just access to the sun, going outside, or accessing a light box, making your life physically brighter to counteract the darkness that is outside and around us. And the fourth thing, so you have therapy, you have medication, you have phototherapy or light therapy, vitamin D. So both the Mayo Clinic and the I get this acronym wrong every time, NIMH, both recommend vitamin D supplements as a potential help to SAD. You get that sometimes naturally in your diet, but you can also get it from the sun. You'd be getting it less in the sun in the winter, so they recommend taking a vitamin D supplement. I take a multivitamin with vitamin D. These are steps that are more accessible. The vitamin D supplement, going outside, but that's not to minimize the seriousness of this condition. Especially in the past couple winters where we've been in a pandemic and we've been isolated and it is dark outside, this has had a huge uptick. So, and it can be hard to be motivated to take even small steps like taking a vitamin D supplement or going outside for a walk. I know for me, like, it's hard for me to get out of bed sometimes with my depression. So I'm not minimizing the steps that will help. But I do think putting them out there as something we can all strive to do preventatively is important. And since the days are about to get shorter, it's time. Winter is coming. For a lot of people, so is this. If you have any advice or if you have any questions, use the comment section down below. If you want to see more of our content, click subscribe, ding the bell button to know when we post, and hang in there, everybody, for falling back. Bye.